Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening. Sunday, November 23rd. It is 8:37 p.m. This is one of the later ones I've done here, getting my streak up to 8. Don't know how much that will continue this holiday week. I am thoroughly enjoying these though, and as you can tell from my ums and flubs, and it's all free form, just one straight video take, and it's actually a blast. So got some good feedback. With practice, they should improve over time. In this, we're going to go through my Sunday. Normally, I kind of muse about college football. I'm stuck on this free cash flow too, and I dug into Hormel, Conagra, Campbell, Constellation, and then Caterpillar today. So we'll get to those. I also want to give a market recap for the week ending Friday, which was the 21st, and this is Thanksgiving week coming up. Families in town, things are getting crazy. You know, uh, it's always fun. Especially having kids. At some point, I'll miss this. I'm sure. It reminds me of the Joe Flacco thing, though, where he was traded. I think he's got like 5 kids, and he was traded from Cleveland to Cincinnati, and he famously has said that he used to think a guy sitting alone eating dinner was sad, but now he says, it it's the highlight of his. It brings him a lot of joy. So, with that, the market recap. It was a down week for the week ending Friday 11/21. Bitcoin was down the most. It was down 7.2% the week for the week. It's down 6.5% year to date through Friday. It's bounced some from the lows. I remember Anu had kind of said 82,000 was his target. It looks like it's bounced off that, and it's giving futures in the equity markets a bounce this evening as I'm recording this. For the week, I'm putting this in there, the EWI, which is the Italian iShare. They were down 3.3% for the week, up 45.6% for the year. ARK, ARKK, down 4.6% for the week, up 29.2% for the year. The emerging markets ETF, EEM, down 3.4% for the week, up 28.2% for the year. The EFA ETF, which is developed Europe and Asia, down 2.7% for the week, up 24.7% for the year. The Invesco QQQ Trust, 3Qs, QQQ, down 3.1% for the week, up 15.9% for the year through last Friday. SPDR S&P 500 ETF, down 1.9% for the week, up 13.4% year to date. The Russell 2000 ETF IWM, down 0.8% for the week, up 7.5% year to date. So small caps did outperform. Small value did even a little bit better. The Russell 2000 Value ETF IWN, down 0.5% for the week, up 7.2%. Energy got hit last week. The XLE was down 2.8%. It's up 7% year to date. Bonds were just marginally up 0.7% the week. TLT's up 6.3% year to date. That was the market recap. My college football recap, it was a wild day. All I remember, I watched a ton. Oklahoma won, a good game. Again, they won last week versus Alabama. They pulled out another win versus Missouri, which that Eli is a good coach there at Missouri. The Florida State loss and the bad luck this year was something else. I've read that I'll have to read it in my Monday report. But Florida State, the only teams that have, there's a wild stat out there. It's like that have outgained their opponents by 40 yards every game except one. It's Indiana, Ole Miss, Oregon. There's one more team, and then Florida State's there. But Florida State's, all the other teams have, one loss or less. Florida State's 5-6 now. They punted a ball. The opposing team punted a ball that came off the Florida State player's helmet, went all the way back to the punter. They stopped NC State twice, made them punt. And the second time was the Florida State return muffed it. So just bad luck. And then I watched the Georgia Tech game last night against Pittsburgh. Notre Dame just crushed Pittsburgh. I thought Georgia Tech would win for sure. They're playing at home. They would win that, go to the ACC title game, but they lost. They were down 28-0. It almost looked like a replay of the Texas A&M game. They couldn't come back. Haynes King, it was at one point they were down 14 points. Georgia Tech was driving. He threw an interception and went back for a pick six. Just completely, turned the game around. All right, 5 minutes in. I want to do something, stock in my mind. Cogent Communications, which member Anderson has brought up, ticker CCOI. I read something over the weekend that they basically claim that 25% of global internet traffic goes on their network, their fiber. I was looking at, and then Lumen, I've owned LUMN. They say 60% of global internet traffic goes on their fiber, which is level 3. Remember, they were CenturyLink, but they bought level 3. So I want to look into that a little bit more. Cogent is interesting to me. It's, turnaround, the good, the bad, the ugly. The good is they have an undervalued asset that they're trying to grow through their wavelength product. The bad, management has lost all credibility because of the speed of the turnaround has been less, and the turnaround has taken longer. The ugly is that the CEO pledged his shares in a real estate deal, and he got them sold out, similar to the Tellurian CEO, Sharif Suki. So that's on my mind. I've been digging into it. Also on my mind, this whole weekend I was supposed to, and I'd done some work on the natural gas and the energy E&P update, but I started digging into all the cash flows from Antero, EQT, and EXE, and the rest of the natural gas names. Those three were in the 12-13% range with the strip where it's at. And then I made a whole list in the last episode. I'm gonna put out an article that has a summary table similar to how I did that May article, the discount to tangible book value, which has turned out really well. If you bought all those names, they've done extremely well. I want to do something, organizing all this free cash flow work I've done for the paid members of the Contrarian, and then also the paid Substack. But anyway, as I'm going down that rabbit hole, I was looking at the package and processed food companies, which are two dirty words in my book. I try to eat, the outside of the grocery store, eat organic, eat fresh whole food. These are generally, Hormel was the first one. I like Hormel. They've got some products I like, Applegate Farms, Justin's, which is, they basically make chocolates that are healthier, holy guacamole, but then they also have Spam, Skippy, Jenny O, Planters, Dinty Moore. They do have Columbus Craft Meats, which I think is relatively healthier. You can find those in Costco. Hormel's got a 6.5% free cash flow yield. I spent about an hour and a half on this morning, going through these 4 or 5 companies. It's 5.1% dividend, so not bad, but on that list that I made yesterday, it's towards the bottom of the list. ConAgra is, they've got about a 10% free cash flow yield. You can estimate it from 9 to 11% based on analyst estimates or their guidance. I don't like their brands as much. They have Marie Calendar, Bird's Eye Healthy Choice, Banquet, Slim Jim, those Oral Redback, which is an Indiana popcorn name, Hunt's, Pam, Ready Whip, Swiss Miss, Duncan Hines. Their estimates have been cut though. Their free cash flow for example, for the trailing 12 months was $1.1 billion. The low estimate for next year is $760 million. $925 is the average estimate. But it does have a dividend that's 7.9% yield. It appears covered right now, and the free cash flow yield is 10%. Campbell Soup, I came up with a 7.5% free cash flow yield, 4.9% dividend. Constellation Brands, about a 6.7% free cash flow yield for next year, 2026. Their dividend's lower. And then the last one I really looked at was Caterpillar. And the way I got to this was I was looking at, XAI, which is that big Memphis data center, and they powered it with these solar natural gas turbines that were behind the meter, right? So who makes those? Well, Caterpillar makes those. Caterpillar stock's up over 50% for the year. It's one that I wrote about with like John Deere publicly all the way back in 2015, 2016. It's just done really well. Couldn't believe it was up 50% this year, but part of what's happening is as the data centers are being built, they're using power behind the meter. So, they're using turbines or generators. Caterpillar is the one who made the turbines for the XAI, the OpenAI. So it's a 5%, a little bit below 5% free cash flow yield, 4.8. You're not as cheap as these other packaged and processed food ones, and that would be further down on our list. But again, the stock price has gone up quite a bit this year. So Caterpillar's had a heck of a run, whereas the processed and packaged food companies, they're all getting beat up, and that's why it's been a topic of discussion, particularly in our Stuck on Yield room, but among our members. So that's I don't know if I had anything else. I get a whole nother list of free cash flow names that I started looking at. I'll preview those tomorrow, or I'll talk about those tomorrow if I do day 9. I guess the last thing I'll say is just habits are who you are, and I always say with stocks it's a marathon, not a sprint. With projects like this too, I'm on my way to doing a podcast, but I view it as a marathon, not a sprint. So part of it is just putting in the effort on a daily basis. I think it's going to help with my writing, and as I do supporting pieces. So hopefully everybody's enjoying these. It's I thought I'd actually go quite a bit longer tonight. I don't know, maybe I'm tired. Finishing up 8:48 p.m. Hopefully everybody has a nice Sunday night. And I'll be back maybe tomorrow. We'll see how this week goes with the family in town and so forth. But I've done 8 of these. This is my 8th one. Thankful, grateful, feel blessed, thankful and grateful for everybody in the group. I've got a Thanksgiving story to share if I can do one on Thursday on the Pilgrims, which I didn't know about. I love history. So looking forward to sharing that, and I'll wrap it up. Have a nice evening. Take care. Thankful and grateful. Blessed.